Yes, hello. My name is Lorain Wang. I'm the digital archivist for the Getty's Institutional Records and Archives program. I've also been leading the group working on Lite SNAC, which is a new snack service that is under development. I'll be giving an overview of the project while Joseph will be giving a demo of what we have so far. Before I delve into Lite SNAC, I'd like to first introduce and thank the folks that have been working on this project. Since January of this year, members of the Lite SNAC subgroup have been meeting every other week. The group consists of a cross-section of people from the SNAC administrative team and the different SNAC working groups, including editorial, technical, and SNAC school. A big thank you to Iris Lee, who put together this group and was the original group leader until she left on maternity leave in February, which is when I stepped in. She's since come back and luckily for us is still a member of the group. So what is Lite SNAC? Lite SNAC is an alternative to the SNAC editor's interface for creating records. As the name implies, this will be a more lightweight experience. Possibly fewer calories will be consumed, but I can't make any promises. And my sincere apologies for making that terrible joke. I felt like it was unexpected of me, and I'm glad I got that over with. Going back to Lite SNAC, essentially this new service will allow a user to create basic snack records by filling out web forms. In addition, and also very important, users of Lite SNAC can submit records without SNAC school training. While Lite SNAC will be available to all users, it was initiated as part of an effort to make SNAC more inclusive by expanding the roster of repositories that contribute to SNAC, and by extension, diversify the records within SNAC. Specifically, we are targeting small, under-resourced organizations that, for example, might have only one person on staff or is run by volunteers, such as a community archive. Even though SNAC School is free and offered throughout the year, the time commitment for training and creating records may be an obstacle to participating. Additionally, the editor interface can be intimidating or confusing for someone without archival training. In order to lower the barrier for participation and make SNAC more accessible, we have been developing web forms for creating basic records as an alternate way for these small repositories to contribute. Now, Lite SNAC is by no means meant to be the only way for these repositories to contribute records. Our hope is that for some, Lite SNAC will serve as a gateway for people to develop enough comfort and enthusiasm for submitting records that they decide to go through the process of attending SNAC school and becoming a SNAC editor. So Lite SNAC comprises three forms. There's the form for creating the repository record, the resource record, and the CPF record. In designing these forms, we were guided by an overarching principle of keep it simple. It's not just about providing a different interface for submitting records. We also want these forms to be easy to fill out. So how do we keep it simple? First, by using clear and non-jargony language. Since there may be people without archival training filling out these forms, we want to make sure labels are understandable to the general user. For example, for a person entry, rather than using surname and forename, we're using the labels last name and first name. Another example is the language drop-down menu. The language names will be spelled out rather than using the three-letter codes. The second way of simplifying the forms is by minimizing the number of fields. Rather than presenting all the same fields that are available through the editor interface, we wanted to limit it to the essential or most commonly used fields, so we're not overwhelming the user, but at the same time, they're still able to produce complete records. We looked at different resources to determine the essential fields for each form. For the repository form, we looked at repo data, which was a project to collect repository data from US archival repositories. For the resource record, we looked at NUCMUC and the DAX required fields. And for the CPF form, we were guided by the SNAC editorial policy on minimal required fields. Reducing the number of fields does limit the information that users of Lite SNAC can provide, but in order to keep things simple, we felt it was more important to serve the more common use cases rather than trying to accommodate every scenario. Additionally, these records will be reviewed by a SNAC editor so they can work with these repositories in entering the extra information into the correct fields. As part of our effort to minimize the amount of fields that we display and to make the forms more user-friendly, we also decided to design the forms as a decision tree, sort of like an installation wizard when you install new software, to guide the user through the forms. In this case, we would ask questions and the user's response will determine which form or field will be presented. There are multiple benefits to this design. From the UX design perspective, it helps the respondent stay more focused. Another benefit is that the user will only see the fields relevant to their needs, which also allows us to have more fields without displaying a cluttered form. We also thought that this was a good solution for dealing with the more complex processes, such as having the user search in SNAC for a CPF record first, linking it to a resource record, or if one doesn't exist, bringing up the form to create the CPF, and then repeating those steps as many times as necessary. Other ways that we are making the forms more user-friendly is, aside from having clear labels, is by providing examples for fields in each form. We also plan on writing up some general instructions as well as providing a list of information that the user should have on hand before sitting down to fill out the forms. By letting them know in advance what they need, our hope is that it will make for a smoother process and increase the likelihood that forms are completed. Now I will pass the baton to Joseph so he can give us all a preview of Lite SNAC.
Thank you, Lorain, for that excellent overview. I will just second everything that Lorain just explained and maybe give you a visual demo and let you see some of those principles that she mentioned and talked about. So right here is the editing interface, the current editing interface for SNAC. It's very powerful. There's a lot of options and fields, but it can be kind of overwhelming for someone who's not trained or who doesn't have as much archival experience. Just the where to go, all of these options are available right off the bat. You might not be sure which ones are applicable to your record. You might not know what, for example, the ISO standard language is or things of that nature. So trying to really lower the bar, really simplify it and streamline it, we've been developing Lite SNAC. So this is the first page that a new editor would see using this system. They'd first create a holding repository. And as you can see, it's very simple, very familiar, very top down. And if they're not sure about, say, what goes in a particular field, you have a little question mark icon that gives you an explanation as well as an immediate example that you can latch onto and have a model to follow. So for holding repository, you'd enter in a name, enter in a description of your holdings, that sort of a brief description of holdings and scope of collections. Then you'd also have, is your access policy online? So you say yes, you can add in a URL for it. And if you say no, then you have a text box along with a prompt to say, describe your access policy here. Here's some of the information that people might be interested. Can they access this? Is it open to the public? All of that prompted for you right there. So you don't have to go hunt off on other pages to know exactly what a particular field means. There's repository type. And thanks to the editorial working group for developing this list of different possible repositories that we want to support in SNAC, such as community archives, colleges and universities, museums, private collections, and various others. So as you go through clicking, you run across fields that will pop out if they do apply to you, and if you don't, they're just wiped away, so you don't even have to think about them. And it's supposed to be as familiar and non-threatening as possible. So once you've gone through all of those steps, you can save, and you can also jump straight into adding resources for this new repository that you've created. So you don't need to go to a dashboard or lose your train of thought. You can go right into adding resources, and we will pre-populate the repository, which is the one identified with your user that you've been attached to, and you can get typing in for your resource form. Now, this would be very familiar if you've edited in SNAC. The resource form is the most similar to our standard resource editing form on SNAC. Not a lot of changes, but still some of those basics. Extra fields if you need them, gone if you don't, and easy examples that you can reference if you're not sure quite how to word a particular field. At the end of all that, once you've filled out resources, you can save them. One thing that I ought to mention is if you need to add multiple languages, instead of having the ISO codes, we have things like the full names, much more accessible, much easier to intuitively start using. And once you've created the resource right from this page, you can start to relate that to CPFs in SNAC, either by searching for the creator if it already exists, or if you don't find it there, you can hop right over to add the creator. So just to go back to that, the current CPF editing interface, which is for full editors, people who've been trained, very good, very powerful, but maybe overwhelming if you're not trained, to this, where it's just one question right off the bat. Is this a person, family, or organization that you're attaching to this resource? We're going to say corporate body, and then we have an organization name and a history note. Now, if I decide that was wrong and I actually want to describe a person, I see a different set of fields. And all the fields that don't apply to persons are hidden. And I'm given specific examples that pertain to the exact fields that I'm interested in. And if I have more information, let's say I'll just fill this one out. Myself, Glass, Joseph Howard, no other name components, but if I'm not quite sure, I can check there. No, I don't have any identifying components or prefixes or suffixes, so just leave that one blank. And I'll do 01, 1988. And well, we'll leave this one blank for sure for now, since I'm doing this for myself. If I have extra information, I can search for occupations or add in a biotic hist, or just say, no, this is all the information I have, and leave it blank there. So right from there, I can relate to another CPF and search, say I'm a friend of James Garfield, why not? I'm going to select him, and I'm going to say we corresponded. We were pen pals. And there we go. And right here, I can see a table with all of the other CPFs that I've related this new person to in SNAC. And I can continue to add more, go back to my resource, and start connecting them. So we very much wanted to get away from the one page where you have to hop away frequently, and instead go into a flow chart where you're guided from A to B to C on all the steps of deeply describing records and connecting them one with another. We've gotten a lot of great feedback and a lot of helpful suggestions. We would love to gather some more. There's a lot to do more in the future. We want to keep improving the form and the user experience. We want to add additional fields, make it easier to describe without overwhelming people, improve the validation so that even if you accidentally click in something which is an invalid data type for that field, that the system will catch you, guide you, and say, did you mean to do this instead? Yeah, so pretty soon we'll be entering our testing phase, and we'd love to have maybe suggestions of people we could start working with, small repositories that would be interested in submitting their records into SNAC. We'd love to get started as this project nears completion. So if you have any suggestions, just feel free to email them to us. And yeah, we're very excited about that.